This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. Do you realize it's like every single day there's something with Harry and Meghan? And given the fact that I have been around long enough to recognize the patterns of when they are saturating the media with absolute garbage, you know that there's something else they're keeping us distracted from. So the beginning of August has kicked off, and it has been daily and relentless, this propaganda of lies being pushed out between Meghan's stupid birthday photos as well as her beef with Martha Stewart. And then we have like this in-your-face grooming with the Girl Scouts of America. God forbid they give us just one day without having to shove their arrogant, ugly-looking faces down everybody's throat. Up they pop up last night at some charity for David Foster and Catherine McPhee. I think what's frustrating is that everybody is falling for it again. And given the fact that I've been around pretty much from the beginning to know that when we have these cycles of media saturation of the Harkles, they're always doing something behind the scenes that they keep on the down low. And that is happening as we speak. So earlier this week, I did a video talking about the posts that Meghan and Harry put up about tech safety. I guess I'm the only one who really dug into that because everybody else was so distracted with all the bullshit that doesn't matter, doesn't affect anybody or help anybody, but still, that's what people wanted to watch. That's what people wanted to talk about. You know, and I did share with everybody what the Senate was doing with these laws here in the United States that was going to not only erode our First Amendment even further, but also erode our Fourth Amendment, which is our right to privacy, with implementing and pushing for this age verification leading to digital ID. What I find so frustrating in this space is that everybody is aware, everybody knows that Harry and Meghan have been playing a role these last 6 years in the erosion of the protection we have in place for our God-given rights. And while everybody's spinning these bullshit narratives and picking apart what Meghan is wearing or picking apart AI photos or digitally altered photos, people are missing stuff is happening that they are involved with, and they're probably laughing their faces off because they're getting away with it. Again! That's the thing. It's happening again. Now, I don't mean to sound irritated or annoyed, but, you know, the reality is I am. Because for the last 6 years, I have been raising the red flags for everybody to see of what Harry and Meghan were really up to. I warned everybody back in 2023, before the online safety bill was signed into law by King Charles, of Harry and Meghan's involvement with getting this bill passed. Shared with you, told you how these groups were all working together and how Harry and Meghan were funding it and behind the scenes advocating to push policy and regulation. I said that from the very beginning. I also warned everybody before the online safety bill was signed into law by King Charles of the negative effects it was going to have for people in the UK. And I said that that bill is going to be the template for what's being pushed here in the US. And sure enough, here we are with this advocacy work that Harry and Meghan have been doing after it was discovered that the Biden administration weaponized the government in order to censor Americans. Well, now they want to do this legally, and this is why there is this push for age verification and pretending that it's all about the kids and keeping kids safe. And we all know that that's a damn lie. This has always been about, for people like Harry and Meghan, the removal of your anonymity online. And these globalists are moving full steam ahead while they keep us distracted with this bread and circus. So while everybody is distracted with the influx of propaganda being cranked out by these so-called royal propagandists, literally everyone is skipping over this headline. Prince Harry reacts to 567 million meta judgment for failing to warn the public about dangers its platforms pose to children. Allow me to read this article because it tells you exactly what the ulterior motive is of Prince Harry and his mission here in the United States. It says here, Prince Harry is speaking out after a New Mexico court ordered Meta to pay an additional $567 million in fines over claims the company failed to adequately protect children on its social media platforms. The Duke of Sussex said the latest ruling marks a turning point in holding technology companies accountable for the impact their platforms have on young users in a statement shared with People.
For years, we've argued that big tech's harm to children was a choice, not some inevitable side effect. This is not an accident. It's not a glitch,
Harry, 41, said. So you all see the revision of history here and Harry reframing this narrative of him always being about protecting the kids online, which is not true. Harry and Meghan started out fighting myths and disinformation by deliberately hurting people financially who had different views or criticisms, as well as getting people deplatformed and ostracized from the online space. Now, what makes this so incredibly evil was that they did this during a time when the online space was all that people had. And for some people, like myself, was the only source of income that was needed to survive during that time. And that's what makes Harry and Meghan so disgusting. You have two arrogant millionaires who deliberately put out disinformation, not misinformation. It was disinformation designed to cause harm. In which that's exactly what they did. They purposely lied to people, putting out these disinformation campaigns to go after and attack innocent people. That's why I keep saying this was a military-grade psychological operation targeting innocent people. And this is why I will not let this go. So when we see these headlines about Harry and Meghan advocating for online safety and redesigning the online space, know that the place that they're coming from is to ultimately be able to control those algorithms and who gets to see what, as well as know who is saying what, so they can go after you. Anyway, back to this article. Harry continues,
"What we've seen in the last 24 hours is what accountability looks like. This is what happens when the law finally catches up to decisions made in boardrooms, product meetings, and algorithm reviews. Decisions that put social media engagement ahead of safety," he continued. "The bar has been moved and every platform still choosing engagement over safety should take notice. Change cannot wait another day," he said.
The comments came one day after a New Mexico court ordered Meta to pay an additional $567 million, bringing the company's total penalties in the case to $942 million after it was previously fined $375 million during the first phase of the proceedings in March, according to the ABC News. New Mexico's district attorney accused Meta of knowingly allowing its platforms to harm young users and enable child sexual exploitation. In his ruling, Judge Brian Beitschid characterized Meta as a public nuisance and said the company should be treated like pollution that must be abated, the BBC reported. In addition to the financial penalties, the court ordered Meta to implement new child safety measures and establish a fund intended to reduce future harms and help address the wide-ranging impacts of the harm, according to the outlet. The BBC reported that about $420 million of the fines will fund appropriate clinical or other behavioral health programs and professionals to help treat harm already caused by the platforms. The court also ordered new safety requirements, including monthly limits on teen use of Instagram and Facebook, restrictions on notifications, and measures preventing adults from contacting users under 18 whom they do not know, according to the Times. Meta must also report on its progress implementing the changes twice each year. In a statement shared with People, a Meta spokesperson said, "We disagree with the ruling and will appeal. We work hard to keep people safe on our platforms and have been transparent about the challenges of identifying and removing bad actors and harmful content. We remain confident in our record of protecting teens online and will continue to defend ourselves against claims that misrepresent the facts," the spokesperson added. Meta's legal challenges extend beyond the New Mexico case. The company is also preparing for a federal trial later this month in Oakland, California, where it will face the first 4 of 29 states that sued the company in 2023, alleging it knowingly designed addictive features on Instagram and Facebook that contributed to the youth mental health crisis, according to the Associated Press. The outlet reported that 8 states also filed separate lawsuits in their own courts, including Tennessee, where a trial is currently underway. The latest ruling comes just months after a Los Angeles jury found Meta and YouTube liable for negligence in a landmark social media addiction case. As part of the March verdict, the companies were ordered to pay $3 million in compensatory damages, with Meta responsible for 70% of the total amount. Jurors also found that Meta and Google should pay punitive damages tied to findings of malice or fraud. At the time, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex called the decision a reckoning for tech companies and a turning point for families. "The verdict is a reckoning," the couple said in a statement to People. "For too long, families have paid the price for platforms built with total disregard for the children they reach. We stand with every parent and young person who refuse to be silenced. Today, the truth has been heard and precedent has been set." Harry and Meghan have long made online safety a central focus of their work through Archewell Fugazi Public Charities, which they're trying to pull off as Archewell Philanthropies, advocating for stronger protections for children and teens using social media. One of the foundation's key initiatives, the Parents Fugazi Network, supports families whose children have been harmed by online platforms and connects them with others who have experienced similar losses. Earlier this year, Harry met with families pursuing legal action against social media platforms. In a video shared by the BBC at the time, he thanked the families for continuing to share their experiences. "Thank you for doing everything you've done. Thank you for telling your stories over and over again. Truth, justice, and accountability. Those are the 3 things that will come from this," he said. The couple has also highlighted the issue through public campaigns, including last year's Lost Screen Memorial in New York City. Created in partnership with families from Archewell's Parents Network, the installation featured 50 smartphones displaying photos of children whose lives were lost due to the harmful effects of social media. Well, you could spin it that way, but technically it was really due to COVID. Anyway, these are families that we have been working with for several years, Meghan said at the event, which people attended. Oh, really? People attended this? Okay. No matter how polarized the world is or what people may or may not agree on, one thing that we can all agree on is that our children should be safe. All of our children should be safe. And I think tonight, all of these stories solidify that. No, I think our children need to be safe from people like Harry and Meghan. That's really the bottom line here. These 2 predators are using the grief of these parents to build a story that is not really all that accurate. So obviously, this is just more PR from the Palace Sussex machine, working hand in hand with the UK government to push these laws that quietly dismantle American freedoms. Of course, they're not going to give you any real substance on the damage this UK prince's crusade is doing as he tries to reshape the online world to suit his own damn agenda. But in all seriousness, we need to talk about this new Meta ruling out of New Mexico. Because on the surface, the way the establishment is positioning the narrative as big tech gets punished for hurting kids, underneath it, it's really pointing straight at digital ID. Just like with Prince Harry's article from People, you're going to see the rest of these mainstream media outlets focusing and putting heavy emphasis on the amount of money Meta is going to have to pay should these appeals fall through. The court in this case here in New Mexico decided that Facebook and Instagram are a public nuisance. Well, if that be the case, then maybe people should just stop using Meta. If Meta right now is so resistant to doing a better job at protecting children, perhaps maybe the loss in users would motivate them to build something better. In my opinion, Mark Zuckerberg is just going through the motions here. He's already on board with stripping away anonymity, as I've covered before. We all know he's not actually going to be handing over nearly $1 billion without putting up a fight. But, by the time the appeals drag on for years, a lot of these laws could already be locked in if people keep sleepwalking through it. In the same way, the UK sleptwalked through the Online Safety Act. So here's the important part about this. Listen up. The state of New Mexico wanted the judge to force Meta to put real age verification across their platforms, the kind that actually works. The judge said no. He said he can't because of COPPA, which is the Federal Children's Privacy Law. COPPA says you can't collect personal information from kids under 13, and you can't even passively track them to figure out their age. So he couldn't order Meta to start demanding IDs from children. That's the important part here. So how do you get around it? Well, the judge turned around and ordered something that still gets to the place that they're trying to get to. He told Meta that they have to keep improving their age prediction systems using AI. Within 2 years, they have to build a dedicated model that tries to figure out who's under 13. And if the system can't confidently tell how old someone is, Meta has to treat that account as a child until the user verifies. Now, we all know that these algorithms can have a mind of its own or can be programmed in a certain way that even if you are of age, one day, all of a sudden now, it locks you out of your account and telling you need to verify that you're over 13. I think that's happened before with people in Australia where they had to verify that they were over the age of 13 or 16 in order to get online or to use YouTube. And I think many adults were forced into having to upload a government-issued ID. And what does verify mean in this case? Once you're past a certain age, well, the ruling itself points to a driver's license, passport, consumer history, maybe even a bank statement. In other words, government ID. So the judge didn't write the words, "Show us your digital ID." He just ordered the infrastructure that makes digital ID the only practical way forward, which is how they're getting around eroding your privacy rights. You're seeing this strategy being carried out in the EU as well as the UK, and it's like they're doing it very manipulative and deceitful. 1 minute saying, no, we're not going to require everybody to have digital ID, but you need it if you want to get a job or if you want to get a house or rent somewhere. But in this case, with social media, this is a pattern. Courts and regulators keep saying they can't force full age verification because of privacy laws. And then they order the companies to get better at guessing the age. But if they can't guess it, you got to restrict features based on those guesses and force users who get flagged to prove they're adults. The only clean way to do that at scale is by uploading a government ID. And this is how this always starts. First, they say it's for the kids. Then, it's just for the accounts we think might be kids. Then, it's adults need to verify so we can keep the kids safe. And once the systems are built and the habits are formed, expanding it then becomes really easy. And those that are not paying attention are just going to walk blindly into giving away their personal identity. So according to this ruling, Meta is now going to have to report progress to the court. Meta will also have to delete data on under 13 accounts, and they're going to have to put time limits and notification controls on teens. And all of this is being sold under the guise of protecting the kids. But when you think about this, seriously think about this, the real long-term effect is pushing these platforms towards knowing exactly who is who on them with government-backed identity. And that should be a real concern to everybody because there is no protection for the consumer on the data that you're uploading to whatever third party that they'll hire to put in place to collect and do this verification. And I think that's a fundamental problem with this push for age verification. There are no so-called guardrails for the adults and consumers. And what I find so mental about all of this is this push to put more adults in the vicinity of children under 13. Because for those that don't want to upload a government ID, they're going to be relegated to the under 13 crowd. So now you're going to put a whole bunch of adults in a pool with a whole bunch of children. Like, what sense does that make? Like, we've seen this movie play out before, how we were all suckered into FISA. Now we have these age verification bills, the Kids Act, the talk about using phone carriers and app stores as the verification layer. It all leads to the same place. You don't get to be anonymous online anymore. Not if you want full access to information. And to me, I find that terribly frightening. Because the way that this is going is going to extend beyond social media. It's going to extend into your browsing habits, what you're searching, and the use of AI to build profiles on you to predict your behavior. And God forbid AI does make a mistake and ends up triggering something to where the government is notified and sees your profile that has been built. Next thing you know, you have a knock on your door from a government official ready to take you away. And this is what concerns me with Prince William and his predicting homeless project. What do you think they're going to be doing? They're going to be profiling everyone. It's not just homelessness that they're looking to predict. You know, it's important to understand that once that infrastructure exists, it never stays limited to protecting the kids or predicting homelessness. It becomes now the default. Now, what's really sad about this is that there are enough content creators and voices on social media that could be raising the same alarm to make an impact, especially to get global recognition pertaining to the dangers of all of this. But sadly, everybody is so preoccupied with the Harry and Meghan bullshit. I think we really need to start asking ourselves, is this garbage that's being put out on a daily basis helping anybody? I think by now, everybody knows what this couple is about. So why are we still giving the nonsense the oxygen and not putting our efforts into actually making some kind of impact here to stop this? But this also involves not only just content creators, but it also involves you guys. Like, you need to make your voice heard in comment sections about people who are talking about Harry and Meghan. There are bigger platforms that continue to keep talking about this bullshit, and you have to wonder, how are they not seeing what's happening here? Or maybe they do and just prefer to talk about the gossip and salacious things because it gets more clicks. That too is also a factor. Anyway, it is becoming exhausting because there's so much that we could do collectively in making a dent here to stop this, because everybody should be invested in their own freedoms. But it is what it is, and I'm just going to continue to keep talking about this because I know that I am the pebble in Harry and Meghan's shoe. But what do you guys think? Definitely let me know your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
It was such a fraud.